Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal Raza and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, historical and contemporary evidences suggest that India has a dual faces. One is apparently civilized and other is full of terrorism, extremism and fascism. India is using state-sponsored terrorism as a tool of its foreign policy, not only in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, but also in Pakistan and across the region. India is also involved in heinous crimes, particularly the extraterritorial killings in Pakistan, in Britain, in Canada, and attempted murders in United States, especially after the Modi regime in 2014. These phenomena intensified across the globe and called a global terrorism from India. To talk on this important subject which is affecting Pakistan and its sovereignty and territorial integrity, we are having today in our studios Brigadier retired Raashid Janjua. He is the Director IPRI. Most welcome to you, sir. And we have online Saira Ijaz. We will also having a conversation with her. Most welcome to you as well. Online, she is joining us at Skype. When we are talking about Pakistan, its sovereignty and territorial integrity, yesterday there was a very important Corps Commander conference, and in that conference there was a clear stance on Indian state-sponsored terrorism and whatever the hostile agency is doing in Pakistan, inflicting terrorism and supporting, abetting, facilitating those terrorist organizations. How do you see it?
You see, Indian terrorism is not something new, and it emanates from the kind of state India is morphing into. It has metamorphosed into Hindutva Rashtra, practically staying away from Nehruvian secularism. So that lies dead and buried. It is now Nathuram Godse's India.
Yes.
And the revisionist state has a tendency the world over to recreate those old mythological symbols, and out of that concocted mythological past, certain symbols are extracted, and then the religious nationalism is supported because of those symbols. Ram Mandir was one. We just saw with such fanfare, with profligate spending on a mandir, and which was already a mosque, and on the ruins, on the foundations of the same mosque, blatantly with the support of the Indian Supreme Court, recreated a mandir. That's a symbol of Hindutva's arrival. That was a clarion call to all the rabid right-wing Hindu electorate that Hinduism and Hindutva has arrived. There is no place in India for any other minority and faith, and anybody who wishes to remain in India would remain as a second-class citizen and pandering to the wishes of the majority.
Do you think that the Corps Commanders Conference yesterday has a strong resolve to fight terrorism, particularly to wipe out this menace of terrorism which is inflicting from India?
Absolutely right. You see, the Corps Commanders Conference focused on three themes. One of them was India's territorial aggression against Pakistan, breach of Pakistan's sovereignty, assassinations on Pakistan's territory, taking a leaf from what India did in Canada against a Sikh activist, assassinating a Canadian citizen, and then going after another citizen, Gurpant Singh in United States, and one of the Indian origin individuals, Nikhil Gupta, is still in the dock.
Yes.
And the linkages have been connected to RAW. So the tangible concrete evidence is there, and that evidence is the manifestation of Doval doctrine, which sometime back he had very clearly elucidated that we will now bleed Pakistan through 1,000 cuts. So they have imposed practically proxy warfare, which is very surreptitious, which is very insidious, which comprises a large network of sleeper cells inside Pakistan. They are resorting to killing of Pakistani nationals on Pakistani soil. Anybody who raises, the Kashmir question, and people of Kashmiri extraction too were assassinated, one in Rawalakot, one in Sialkot, and the linkages have been made to raw activists like Yogesh Kumar and Akesh Kumar. And we gave the clear evidence in case of Balochistan insurgency, which is directly being abetted by Indian proxy warfare network, both inside Balochistan and on the Iranian soil.
Your point well taken. Saira, most welcome to you. When we are talking about India's blatant violation of international law and international relations, particularly in Pakistan, and related to the raw's covert activities and directly targeting Pakistanis at Pakistan soil. Just recently, Foreign Affairs Secretary has a press conference, and he categorically said that Pakistan has ample evidence available that raw fugitives and raw operatives are directly involved in killing of Pakistanis. How do you see it?
Actually, we should see, I would like to first draw some context behind it. I would like to connect it in a way that the US strategic competition has, is somewhat is responsible for this emboldened and dangerous behavior of India towards not only towards its neighboring countries, but also at world at large, because US has chosen India as its strategic partner to curtail the rise of China. So this has further, emboldened the Modi regime to take out all its nefarious designs of instability and dangerous pathway of, creating such chaotic and terrorist activities, not only in Pakistan, but in other parts of the world as well. But with this, I would like to say that now times have changed. You can see now the international media, the Global Times and many other newspapers are reporting these and are uncovering these unlawful activities and terrorist activities. To create instability within not only in Pakistan but in other parts of the world. But when it comes to Pakistan, I think these are multi-pronged strategies which India is adopting. In Afghanistan has also become a safe haven for the Indians to create instability and chaos in Pakistan.
So, Saira, do you think that the raw operatives, Saira, if you just listen, that do you think that raw agents like Ashok Kumar Anand and Yogesh Kumar and others who are responsible for the killing of two Pakistanis and Kashmiris? Okay, there are some technical issues might be. Brigadier Sahib, if you just throw light on this, you have rightly mentioned about two of the raw agents, whether they are going to be trialed, whether they are going to be arrested, brought to justice. Do you think so that Modi regime is going to do some justice?
So I'll refer to what Saira was mentioning about the Indian attitude in the context of global competition. You see, India gives an impression as if it believes in strategic autonomy, free from American and Russian and Chinese sphere. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Instead of strategic autonomy, what BJP-led government is following is strategic impunity. So within that, they have gotten emboldened, and they are resorting to that assassination template, which has been borrowed from what they have been doing in the rest of the world, especially against the Kashmiri and Sikh diaspora. Now, your specific question whether something would be done at international law level, well, there are plenty of options. This act is a violation of UN Charter, and a clear violation of international covenant on civil and political rights. Right to life is for everyone, and if that is violated, so certain provisions are attracted. Universal jurisdiction could also be invoked by certain countries, including Pakistan, that this has happened on our territory. We have the evidence, and we will connect the dots and give this evidence to the UN relevant UN forum. And those forums include the UN Counterterrorism Committee of Security Council. There is a UN Human Rights Council. We can take this issue there, and we can take this issue to International Criminal Court even.
So, how do you see the raw using social media platforms to spread terrorism, hiring of the criminals along with the murderers, the executing plans and killing people across the region, particularly in Pakistan and at the global level?
Yes, I think this has been reported by international press also, that India has been utilizing social media platforms to recruit those assassins, and also it has used those platforms to demonize and to present a totally fictitious, false picture of what is actually happening on ground. Like once these two individual Pakistani nationals were assassinated, the Indian Twitter handles and their social media, it started predicting as to what was about to happen. Now, how in the name of all that is holy did they come to know that this is in the offing? It's a clear connection of the dots, and then they are operating in a very compartmentalized, they have firewalls between the sleeper cells, there are handlers, there are planners, there are executors. So, each tier has to be unearthed, and our I think intelligence organizations, they are doing a tremendous job by unearthing, and I believe they have the evidence, requisite evidence, which should be packaged properly and presented at a relevant international fora through diplomatic channels, invoking the right jurisdiction of for UN forums, where international law should be pressed into Pakistan's service to get this proper comeuppance for India, because India has been getting scot-free on violations of human rights in Kashmir, in Balochistan, what they are doing, active abetting.
You are mentioning Balochistan. So, when we are talking about Indian footprints in our neighboring countries, particularly in Afghanistan and Iran, and accumulation of those terrorist organizations, refuge at their soil, and then inflicting terrorism upon not only in Balochistan but also in the erstwhile FATA. So, how do you see this aspect, because that is surging from the last few months?
You see, this asymmetric warfare, this is an insidious phenomena, and when we operate in grey zone of warfare, there are contested spaces, there are ungoverned areas. Unfortunately, on our side of the border, also on Iranian side of the border, Sistan, Balochistan, there are vast expanses which are not as well policed and governed, which are used by these non-state actors, which go and they find the sanctuaries like BLA, Allah Nazar, and he is operating the whole network from Sistan, Balochistan, and there is a network of RAW which Kulbhushan Yadav also
from Chabahar,
it activated. And in the past, Pakistan has been cooperating, Iranians have been cooperating, there have been border management collaboration, intelligence collaboration between the two countries. Pakistan has in fact helped a lot in running in Janjua, in fact breaking their backs. When Janjua rebranded itself as Jaish-e-Adl, the Jaish-e-Adl's potency was completely destroyed through active Pakistani collaboration. In 2014, it was Pakistani intelligence agencies that helped Iranian agencies to nab the last resistance actor in Turbat. But unfortunately, despite that, there is a kind of a continual attack from the Iranian territory, and in the 2023 alone there were 168 attacks in Kech district in Turbat, and 68 people died, which is a reflection on, though it's on low simmer, we can say, but it's a very, each individual life matters for Pakistan.
Definitely, it is very important. Saira came back again. Saira, when we are talking about use of the foreign country's soil, when Iranian breached Pakistan's sovereignty and territorial integrity, Pakistan then retaliated with a successful aerial operation, Marg Bar Sarmachar, and during that operation, it was evident that in Sarawan, Sistan and Balochistan, lots of terrorists were sent to hell, and lots of sanctuaries were there. So how do you see what actually halted Iranian administration to take decisive action against all those terrorist outfits taken refuge at the Iranian soil?
Actually, the way and Pakistan replied and responded in such a mature fashion to the Iranians' again unlawful activity of January 16th will definitely realize Iran to reconsider and revisit its policy and the terrorist organizations and the groups operating and hiding in its own soil, and definitely they are supported and funded by other countries as well, and in which there are plenty of evidences that Indian raw agency is funded them. So I think with this now, because they will realize and they should realize, and I would like to mention here the element of CPEC, because CPEC is a game changer project. It's a north-south connectivity project, and it will bring stability and peace and development and prosperity to the region, which I think, which is very unfortunate that India is not realizing that South Asia is a very, is suffering from hunger with poverty, and the large number of population of South Asia is below the line of poverty. But unfortunately, fourthly, and again, I have already given the background to it, that why India is wants to engage with its neighbors.
Okay, Saira, your point well taken. Brigadier Raashid Wali, when we are talking about Iranian soil, we have seen that just before the Iranian foreign minister's visit on 29th of this month, before that, 9 Pakistanis, innocent Pakistanis, were heinously murdered at the Iranian soil, and the place was the same, Sarawan in Sistan and Balochistan. So do you think that that was the direct message to Pakistan, or a message to Pakistan and Iran both?
It indeed was, and this is a manifestation of the virulence of these non-state actors, and they have their own agenda, their own ideology. They are being supported by external forces like RAW, and when I say those ethnic particularists and sub-nationalists.
So do you think that they are being used as a proxy against Pakistan and Iran both?
Yes, absolutely right, because you see, if you see the Balochistan's context, those who are up against arms, against the state, those are not the people who have genuine grievances. If there are genuine economic, health, education related grievances, livelihood related things, those could be assuaged. The state can ameliorate their
Definitely.
But what cannot be countenanced is their narrative when they say that we want to secede. So, and they are very less number of such activists, but they have this instrument of fear. And we know that those Baloch Sardars which used to lead, now one is sitting, Harbiar is sitting abroad, Bhokti is also sitting abroad, and their second and third tier, which is a new phenomenon which is emerging, those frustrated people who were looking for some excuse, and those have been weaned away from this peaceful life towards this militancy. Bashir Zeb faction, Aslam Achu's faction was killed. Now, these are those variants that come from the middle and lower classes, and they have taken up arms and they have been supported, they have been abetted, and they have been completely in the sway of external funding and support, and they have their own agenda, and they believe in violence, they believe in killing. Against them, kinetic response of the state is essential. But then in a classic counter-insurgency approach, you need to drain the swamp. You need to drain the swamp and of the water of sympathy against them, and the sympathy water would be reduced if we do steps like provision of livelihood, extension of the state's writ in those ungoverned spaces. Already there are concrete initiatives like Mand Pashin,
border markets and all that.
There's a border trade commission going on. There's a Zaidan Taftan trade,
and 200 megawatts of electricity straight away coming from Iran. Pakistan and Iran trade agreement also there.
And I think it could be a win-win formulation if we create corridors of prosperity along these borders where people have economic stakes. Once the people have economic stakes, you will drain that swamp. The ready recruits would not be available.
What about the confessions of Indian raw agent in service Navy Commander Kulbhushan Sudhir Yadav, along with that the BNA's Balochistan National Army or something like that, the band outfit, the founder of that Gulzar Imam Shambe, and then afterwards the commander Sarfraz Ahmed Bangalzai. So what was out of that confession? India is one question. What you think that why India is doing all this?
Indian intentions are very obvious. They want to destabilize Pakistan. They want to bleed Pakistan through 1,000 cuts, the Doval doctrine. Kulbhushan Yadav confessed, and we took the case to ICJ, and the case is still pending. And Pakistan is a very strong case of presenting this evidence to the world in concrete terms that the kind of terrorism Pakistan is has been imposed upon by India. And then if you see these Sarfraz Bangalzai, Maula Bakhsh, Baloch, and Gulzar Imam Shambe, who have renounced, their renunciation of violence betokens a desire to come back into the fold.
Yes, many of them want to.
Many of them want, provided they are given the right environment, the right incentives, they are weaned off from the militancy, and a climate of security is created by extension of the state writ. The state has to respond on multiple fronts. Economic dimension, we have to address the livelihood dimension, the development dimension, and more than development, it's the question of the right economic integration. The people should not look towards extraterritorial havens for their economic stakes.
Obviously, you are absolutely very right. Thank you very much for your precious time and well elaborated, Brigadier Retired Raashid. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presence. Saira, when we are talking about, you have just mentioned about the Global Times. So what is the vitality of the Global Times claims that India is giving financial arms and training support to TTP and Baloch terrorist entities to spread terrorism and instability in Pakistan, because it was a huge story done by Global Times, really?
Yes, it further strengthens Pakistan's case. I think it's a very positive development that now international media is also raising these very sensitive and very important issue when it comes to regional stability, because two nuclear armed states can't stay together in such a fragile way. And I think that historically speaking, and which is very unfortunate, that being neighbors, India and Pakistan has never experienced a friendly and peaceful relations, neighborly peaceful relations. But the most disturbing thing is that India is not in a mood and to frame any to come up with some frame out for some working diplomatic level relationship where there could be some management framework should be sorted out to come up to address these issues. In fact, despite of all this, in fact, they are further in creating disturbance and instability, creating instability within already disturbed
Saira, security forces some days back busted an Indian-sponsored TTP terrorist sleeper cell, which has lots of destructive plans for Karachi city particularly. And when the elections are on, there were at least 17 terrorists, including the suicide bombers. So the credit goes to the security forces, but that was again envisaged that India wants to sabotage the peace and tranquility within the society in Pakistan.
Definitely. Definitely, there is no doubt we are passing through very sensitive times. Elections are just round the corner, and this chaos and these terrorist organizations, these external factors, they thrive on chaos and instability, and that's why they are creating this thing. And kudos to our intelligence agencies and all the political and the military leadership, which are playing their role, and we all should be very high alert, particularly towards this scenario of elections, because this is a very high time, and this should be, addressed at local level, and diplomatic engagement is very important. And chalking out framework to address these issues will be, two nuclear armed states cannot stay like this. It's the melting of ice is a very remote chance. Is a very remote thing right now to think between Pakistan and India, but at least some near-term goal for both the states. And Pakistan has always showed its willingness to be a part of some framework where these tensions, these addresses could be addressed.
Saira, you're quite well taken. You're quite well taken. Viewers, we welcome here senior strategic affairs expert, Dr. Ghulam Mujaddid. Most welcome to you, sir, into the studios. Thank you very much for your spare time. Doctor, when we are talking about India's involvement in Pakistan, particularly in terrorist related and insurgency related issues, do you think that the terror outfits, these are not only, those are actually kidnapping people, giving them false promises of money or something like that, and then brainwashing them and using them against Pakistan as a fighter, or sometimes the suicide bomber against their own countrymen? So how do you see this phenomena? Do you think this is because of the Indian influence, or also the social protection that is unfortunately weakened in Pakistan?
Okay, I think the countries often have various phases in which they find themselves or something. In case there is some kind of an apparent discord within Pakistan or something, same is there in India. Same is there in United States of America.
Every country,
in every country,
everywhere,
these things are there.
Obviously.
But as long as we are good neighbors, what should be our endeavor? That we should not add fire to the fuel to the fire. We should try at least to mend ourselves in such a way that the relationship between the two countries and the societal setups, they do not get disturbed. The Indians have, as a strategy, resorted to this kind of thing, that they would, fan flames and not, mind their own house and business in this. I agree with you that there are arrangements inside Pakistan, because we have fought a long battle against terrorism.
Yeah, more than 2 decades.
More than 2 decades. Definitely. And all that. Now, after some kind of stabilization in Afghanistan, where they have now their Taliban government and all that, India is using perhaps their old established links with some factions of TTP or something to infuse terrorism and to increase terrorism within Pakistan. So the instances that you have recounted, they are absolutely valid and they are true. And my request to you as a student of strategic studies is that India should refrain from doing this against Pakistan, because after all, we too are the nuclear powers, and the world does not, recommend that there should be this kind of thing. On the contrary, between the nuclear states, and we are nuclear states as neighbors, between the nuclear states, there should be strategic restraint regime, that we must confine ourselves and remain within our bounds and not to inflame the other countries.
So, Dr. Ghulam sir, when some of the reports suggest that terrorists are actually using women, children to get sympathies, NGOs and civil society activists to blame state entities for disappearance of some of the people, and recent evidences suggest that when Pakistan initiated or retaliated the Operation Margbar Sarmachar, the people, the terrorists who were killed there at the Iranian soil were actually the missing persons for someone. So, what's that?
That is actually a part of the dynamics that is there, that exists and all that. The terrorists from one country, this is known as a transnational threat in the strategic lingo. And this threat is that terrorists use other countries as sanctuary, and then they come and operate in the target countries. And of course, as you say, that in our society, there are these segments who are apparently Pakistani, but then they fall prey to the machinations of the enemy, and then they do terrorist activities and hide and use maybe Iran as a sanctuary. What Pakistan did in response was absolutely and perfectly valid. I'm sure it would give a strong message that Pakistan is never going to compromise on its sovereignty and security and internal societal dynamics, the stability of our internal societal dynamics.
Definitely. And just recently we have witnessed that lots of reports came that United States just halted the supply of Sea and Sky Guardian drones to India. That was the US $3 billion deal, which was halted, and linked it with the investigations going on, which was the murder attempt by the raw agents against Gurpatwant Singh in United States, at the United States soil. So how do you see this one, whether US is now activated against the crimes, those crimes which were committed against their citizens?
See, no country would compromise on its sovereignty. Killing of or attempting to kill a United States citizen will never be taken lightly by any country, and so, as indeed by United States of America.
As done by Canada as well.
As done by Canada, and their Prime Minister actually was the one who showed the concern, and there was an actual murder that took place over there. If you use your internal compulsions in the foreign soils, in the sovereign soils, that will create lots and lots of problem. And the relationship between United States of America and India is presently, for past so many years, a strategic relationship. They are both, hands and gloves in
definitely almost 2+2 and Quad and all others. Yes,
everything they are there. Yes. But look, that as soon as they found out that India probably has become a habitual, that after Canada and elsewhere, they attempted to do this and that, and they challenge the American sovereignty, their state's societal stability. They will never care about these things, because it is the internal pressure of the society that would force United States of America or any country to take a very stern stance on this.
So particularly you think that after Canada and United States, UK and all other countries who are actually suffered because of the Indian extraterritorial killings, and also the UN has to take action, and the European Union is still mum on this issue?
No, I'm sure that if, they suspect, the Americans suspect the Indian agent that was probably in one of the Scandinavian countries where the Americans approached, and he was apprehended from there and probably, handed over to United States of America, the man who was behind this plot of murder and all that. So that speaks that on these issues, countries will never take a stance that is on the negative side, whether it be UK, the European Union, or for that matter, United Nations. It is there to promote international behavior which is positive behavior, is the duty of everybody, and nobody will take this thing lightly. If they haven't, I mean, behind the scene, I'm sure, both in the European Union as in UK, and we need to, of course, observe the United Nations response on that. We are ourselves a party. We can always take these cases to the United Nations. Similarly, that reminds me, I'm sure that you would be very well aware, India has done the same thing in our country.
Yes.
Extraterritorial and extrajudicial killings of 2 of our citizens.
Definitely, we were talking about earlier when
right.
we have started
so
our
this is
program.
a streak of thing that is happening, and I'm sure that the world will not take it lightly, and Pakistan especially will actually not take it lightly.
Your point well taken, Dr. Mujaddid. Saira, when we are talking about India's involvement in Pakistan, Indian state-sponsored terrorism, and also the extraterritorial killings at the Pakistani soil, Pakistan has given lots of evidences, even the dossiers to the international community, to the UN, to the European Union, to United States, and all other countries. So there is no action against India, no accountability. So how do you see this aspect?
Actually, again, the point is that this is a larger global political game is involved in it. We need to understand this thing. But as also the international media, the neutral international media is now also raising voice. And now in this kind of social media times, things are not the way they used to be. We have seen how the cause of Palestine has been highlighted through social media, and now it is very much on the forefront. Hopefully our Palestinian brothers and sisters will get justice. But somehow I think all these points, but again, there is a need to have a three-pronged, multi-pronged strategy to tackle this very, very important and serious issue. That is one, through maintaining and trying to establish political stability within our own country. We need to understand, we need to focus on the weaknesses right now we do have in our country, so that we can fight our case with more solid grounds. Number one. Number two is that we need to have some special foreign policy and diplomatic engagement with all the major other powers, be it China is already there to support us, but with other regional powers as well, Turkey, Russia, to insert pressure on India and on the West, particularly the US, to address our real concerns, which has now become a security dilemma and security issue for our people, for Pakistan. Media's role cannot be looked into it. We should keep raising our voice regarding it. Academia is another branch where our academicians, scholars should write more about this
Definitely, Saira,
issue,
you are
and
absolutely
should
right
raise
that
voice.
everyone has the responsibility now to take this issue not only at the regional level but also at the global level. Thank you very much for your presence online. Thank you very much for your candid views as well. So nice of you. When we are talking about Dr. Ghulam Mujaddid, when India's involvement in Pakistan's evidences across the globe, how do you see the international community's support to Pakistan, particularly the P5 and United States, European Union and major countries regarding counter-terrorism? Because it is important that international players must have to come forward, because we have the hostile neighbor, we have Afghanistan, lots of ungoverned territories there, and lots of terrorist organizations taken refuge over there. How do you see this counter-terrorism support from international community?
Well, I think that international community broadly has supported Pakistan throughout Pakistan's war against terrorism within its soil and all that. So they know the context and they know the developments that are taking place. I would agree with Saira that what we need to do, It's not like, domestic things or local things that a crime occurs and immediately the responses
definitely it takes time,
come.
yes.
So it takes time.
Yes.
What we have to do is that we present the facts to the international community.
Obviously,
And
obviously.
if we do it effectively, that is our basic response that we would have done then. So it is also a continuous process. As a thing happens and unfolds itself in an unfortunate way, what we need to do is that we need to present those facts. And I also agree with her that apart from the governmental traditional machineries of response, the social media and the people-to-people contact has become very, very important. So we need to concentrate on them. We need to concentrate on our academia. They are already doing a very good job, and I'm sure that they are making their way forward and winning the arguments on that, because there are facts. The world now the world exactly knows what is actually happening and to whom we are supposed to support. As far as the P5 and the big powers are concerned, well, by definition, it is their responsibility and the United Nations organization to make the world sublime, to reduce the conflict as far as possible, and to support the states instead of non-states and all that. Only then the international system will become more stable. Otherwise, it will, there will be, flames over there, even within the United States of America.
Obviously,
what happened,
yes,
and all
yes.
that. So international community and the big P5, who are by definition able to do things in the international system, because they are big ones, they have the reach, they have the resources, and they have the responsibility.
So,
to look
Dr.
at
Ghulam,
this.
how do you see the hatred which is straight away emerging not only in Canada but also in United States, in European countries, particularly in UK, and in the region? Because after the boycott India campaign in Maldives, we have seen India out movement there in Bangladesh, because India is keep on doing internal lots of interference into the internal affairs, along with the spread of terror and the extremism in many countries. So how do you see it?
That's a very good question, and that very good point to make. Before I indulge into that, I would just like to make a statement that increasingly it is appearing that India is following the same policies that Israel has followed so far. That means killing political opponents in other countries, without permission, something of that sort, and what it is doing against Gaza and all that. India, within its own country and with its neighbors, it is doing almost the same things, that it is trying to bifurcate or segment the societies, break their internal coherence, and especially at the time of their elections. India is trying that, it tried its best that this present president who won the elections in September, Maldivian president,
yes.
Mr. Mohammed Moiso, he should not come to power. And now that Moiso has implemented its election manifesto or this thing, that India out. Maldives don't want to. They said enough is enough. No, India has some military presence there.
Yes, definitely they have some troops over there.
The troops also. With these instruments, India exercises so much of pressure and manipulation in the neighboring country that they ultimately come up with this, that we don't want India here, we want. And this is the election. The people have elected the present Prime Minister.
So how much Indian Hindutva ideology and extremism is a threat to the region and to the globe, and what Pakistan has to do, particularly at the diplomatic level?
You see, Hindutva ideology is, let's say, it's a supranationalist ideology of a country. But that country is India, and that country is very big. That means that, like German Nazism or Israel Zionism and all that, this ideology has a home that is capable of implementing it. So what would it mean? That whatever is the present government or Indian ideology that has affected India itself in very basic ways, its constitution, its internal coherence and all that, it would try to send it outside and all. So all extraneous Indian actions are determined by the Hindutva. And it is not only Maldives, Bangladesh,
Yes.
they also try to do the same thing, that they fully support the present the government, the Hasina, the governments that has won, and this is the fourth state away this thing. And look at the election statistics. The other parties, major party boycotted because that party does not want Indian influence to remain that much that it should dictate Bangladesh everyday social life. What to talk of strategic life, social life. So the India out there also in this. And we know there is a long history of browbeating Nepal.
Yeah, definitely Nepal, Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka and
Yes.
Sri Lanka, very. So it was only, I think, day before yesterday that Indian Foreign Minister Dr. Jaishankar said that in the end, the neighbors would have to live together. But does that mean that living together is on your term? That you just do not let them, you just hold them in
It would never ever be the case, because for the sovereign countries particularly.
Sovereign countries.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ghulam Mujaddid. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your candid views. Well elaborated. Thank you very much, sir. As our panelists suggested, and as viewers, you all know that how an Indian extremist regime, the Modi regime, is actually operating. And unfortunately, the Hindutva ideology, along with the extremist thoughts and then the fascism, is coupling what India is sponsoring at the state level, and that is terrorism, not only in Pakistan but also across the region, and now it's gone global. It's the responsibility of the international powers, international community, to take India in accountable, and particularly in the cases where India is involved in extrajudicial and extraterritorial killings at the foreign soil particularly, and in Pakistan. And Pakistan is also the sufferer of Indian state-sponsored terrorism, which regional countries must have to tackle, and also the international community has to take decisive action against all those outfits who are sponsored by India, particularly the P5 countries. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.